Hey, good morning, everybody. Tuesday, happy Tuesday. Last night I did a bunch of waterfalls, or actually, yeah, later on yesterday or later on the afternoon of yesterday, I did waterfalls. And then I had a good dinner. And I'll tell you what, a very strong ferment is probably like the best because it seems like it's stronger than obviously a 3-day ferment. So when you have an 8-month ferment that you're seeding all of your other ferments, it's a powerhouse. Okay, and it really did. It really cleaned me out, and I was left hungry. So I had like cauliflower, some rice, avocados, a little bit of cheese on it. Then I had a little bit of almond ice cream, and then what else did I eat? Um, Almond ice cream. Oh yeah, and a quesadilla. So yeah, when you finally get yourself to where you're healed and sealed, you reversed all your mutations. Hey, good morning, Christine. Um, you and you know about balance. You'll do your waterfalls. You could eat almost whatever you want because you know you're not going to go overboard. You know how to balance it all out. It's like you get the get out of jail free card. I'm telling you guys, when you actually finally reverse your mutations, you stick with this to where you see a marked difference in every single aspect of your life, you basically have a get out of jail free card. But you got to work for it. Okay? You can't be going on and off, on and off, on and off intermittently and then like hope for the best and then get distracted again by life because what's going to happen is you will always be healing. You will always be sick because you are not allowing your body to fully heal the way it's supposed to. Okay? So eventually you're just going to have to jump on that bandwagon, jump on that horse, and stay on that horse for a while. And then you'll figure out how to jump on and off the horse so that where you can still enjoy life, but it's not going to kill you. Okay? So back when I was an anti-vaxxer, and I was trying to figure out and explain how it is that we have family generation history of inherited diseases. And all we hear about is, oh yeah, it gets passed on from parent to child. How it gets passed on, we didn't have the details. And I just was thinking like, okay, it's the vaccine's fault. You know, when you go and give your medical, you write down your medical history to a doctor, they know what kind of diseases you have because you told them. And then they will go find the vaccines or whatever and recommend. And that's how the family medical history is being carried forth. Wow. But see, when you don't know the laws, when you don't know science, you start making up stories of why things happen because it's not like you're understanding your own body or how actual bodies work. It's wanting to blame an outside entity. And so that's the state that I was in a couple of months way back, probably last year, until I started studying the real intricate science about antibodies, about natural immunity, and then getting attacked by the mothers when I was telling them that the J juice is better than mother's milk. And let me tell you, I was under fire a couple years ago in that 60,000 person group. Now I could substantiate and say why it is J juice is better than mother's milk because mother's milk has all of this natural immunity antibodies that are basically pathogens. Okay, they're natural killer cells, not pathogens anymore, but they're natural killer cells that go after the pathogens that attack the body. But what happens is it's when it gets out of control, it agglutinates and it reinfects you. But what it is, it never leaves your body. You sustain the mutation, Jilly Juice will potentially reverse the mutation and fix the damage to your cells. But but you're never ever going to like get rid of those antibodies. You may lessen the amount. So when you come up positive on a test, it means you have a lot of antibodies in this specific disease. When you test negative for a test, it doesn't mean that you don't have the antibody anymore. It just means that it's not so prevalent where it could actually turn into something like an infection. So, and that's called agglutination. When antibodies become too prevalent, it's agglutination. That's the three things that kill you: is too many antibodies, hormonal imbalance, and too much yeast, too much candida. Okay. So, and candida cancer is the same thing. And so, and real quick on that note, because I was reading Facebook mentions and somebody was saying like, oh, Jillian says that, candida is nothing more, cancer is nothing more than a yeast infection. Candida is the same thing as cancer. You can have a yeast infection in all areas of your body. It doesn't mean that it's necessarily cancer, like it's out of control, but it means that it's a red flag that if you don't keep it at bay and get control of it now, it could potentially turn into a cancer to where it rapidly multiplies. When you have a yeast infection, that's already a sign you have an imbalance in your yeast. And if you don't pay attention, it will get out of control, and it's a sign of worse things to come. So yeah, cancer is a really horrible yeast infection if you really want to put it in technicalities. Okay, so Jilly Juice is so much better than mother's milk, because mother's milk has all these antibodies that she really can't get rid of. So when she breastfeeds, she is passing along those antibodies that are going to then mutate that child. So that's why you see in families similarities in diseases, in body types, and all different things. Now, sometimes you may see a child with, relatively different, size. You may see something anomalous, maybe from a mutated gene from a couple generations. Like, let's say the grandma had the same kind of hair, and so sometimes similarities in generations skip generations. So it's hard to say exactly where some of these antibodies that were inherited from the parents came from, and it may not have affected the parents, but now it affects the child. So, but I thought that it was the vaccines that created family history. No, it's the antigen and the antibodies in the mother that created the family history of illnesses, and it's those antibodies that did that. So really, mother's milk is way more pathogenic than J-juice. J-juice has no antibiotics in it at all whatsoever. So it's always going to be better than mother's milk. But people say, oh yeah, you need to have natural immunity. Yeah, well, of course you need to have natural immunity. I mean, what does that actually mean? It means that you've acquired an antigen naturally in the environment. So the mother basically gives you the disease versus a stranger. What's the difference? A disease is a disease. Whether it's a stranger that's passing by or the mother, a pathogenic mother, there really is no difference. So what does natural immunity really mean? It's like a manufactured perceived difference to make you think that vaccines are horrible, and taking on mother's milk and contracting disease in a play group is so much better. Now, I'm sorry, but disease is disease is disease. Antigen is antigen is antigen. Pathogens are pathogens. It creates antibodies regardless of where you acquired it from, and it sustains a mutation until you actually fix the mutation. So anyways, so you see how elaborate stories can be when people don't know science. And I will admit to you, I've made up my own theory of why it is that we have all these crazy ass generational mutations. Okay, hey Krista. So if I can make up a really good story in my head to justify why it is that we have these crazy generational mutations, I can only imagine somebody else out there who doesn't know anything, hears, people's hearsay gossip, will then, elaborate some crazy intricate story of how Jillian is just crazy and stupid and all that. And I get it. It's just a natural human way. When we don't know something, we make up stories, which then maybe you should question then all the other stories that are out there that we hear about, whether it's the Bible, the allegories, all of that, because, there's probably truth mixed in with somebody's made up perception or what they perceive as what's going on based upon the current information of that day. Okay. So yeah, I really thought that the doctors were colluding with biotech, and they have all their, my God, these doctors are no different than you and me, that they go to like school like Stanford, they get their degree, and they have this good intention to help people, and then they get caught up in the business of the day, day-to-day operations. Well, I can't make this patient eat any good food, but they're coming to me, after eating KFC and McDonald's and all this crappy food, and they want me to find a drug to thin their blood. Well, this is where then the whole thing with cures. So doctors are really only there to work with the general public who they can't legislate morals on, but they can only react to their patient's understanding of what is going on. So if a patient doesn't know their body, they'll be like, okay, doctor, I'm having chest pains. What should I do? And then they go test the blood, say, oh yeah, your blood's kind of thick. Well, why is your blood kind of thick? They don't go into science and say, hey, well, you're eating crappy food. Well, yeah, they do. But they're like, oh yeah, well, okay, yeah, I'll try to eat better, right? But no, they still have blood types A and B positive, okay, which means that there's antigen A and antigen B. So they're not changing their blood type. So they already have antigen swimming around in their blood, agglutinating it, making it thicker. And then whatever else, they're in an environment that's possibly pathogenic. And they're still eating crappy stuff. Yeah, they might modify their diet a little bit, but they're still eating crappy stuff. So then it creates more antibodies. And they're taking, who knows, prescription drugs or something else that's causing more agglutination in their blood. So now they're asking the doctor, hey, I need something to thin the blood. So then guess what? The doctor, all these doctors are saying the same thing. Yeah, I have patients that are having heart issues and having blood issues, and we need to find a cure to thin the blood. So then guess what? Biotech, Bayer, will then say, hey, well, we have an aspirin that has this, like, was it some kind of acid that will thin the platelets, that will inhibit a certain hormone that develops blood platelets. And so we'll say, hey, since you're at risk of having a potential heart attack because you're complaining of heart issues or something, take this aspirin every single day. Or when you feel like you're going to have a heart attack, which, okay, I guess in an emergency, if you feel like you're having a heart attack, pop an aspirin, it thins the blood so you don't have a heart attack. But when you're having a heart attack, are you going to think of doing that? Are you going to be in reach? So maybe it's better to have preventative, which is doing J-juice, but that's a different road. So what the whole industry is trying to do is that they're trying to give you cures that now they are saying, because the body, when you're poisoning the body, trying to inhibit the right processes, like it's going to create white blood cells because of the antigen. That's just the laws of the body. Okay, so you have to realize why it is are you taking aspirin every single day to thin your blood. Maybe you should look at why it is that your blood's agglutinating to begin with. What are you doing every single day? Eating crappy food, not countering it with the right elements. You have mutations in your body that's not been fixed. So, you taking this cure, which is only temporary until the body adapts to it. And then what happens is when the body adapts to that poison, it's not like going to not affect you. It'll affect you, but it'll stop working and stopping that blood platelet accumulation. It'll stop doing that because the body then adapts and says, okay, well, we found a way to go after that antigen, which is that aspirin. We're still going to continue to agglutinate and thicken your blood because you have so much antigen and we can't stop the laws of your body from working. But then that aspirin is then going to destroy the lining of your stomach. So then you have these side effects because no, you don't escape consequences when you violate the laws of your body. That's how the cures work. That's why they will prescribe a cure for a certain amount of time and then recommend it to the general population. And so everybody jumps on the bandwagon and goes, oh, yay, we got a cure, we got a cure. And it works for a certain amount of time until they start seeing the side effects because the body adapts, finds an antibody against that pathogen, and then the blood still agglutinates, but then the body will still have a negative consequence because that's still a poison. It's going to destroy your gut. When you're taking in aspirin every single day to stop your blood from agglutinating, or every other day, guess what? You're destroying your body. And now it's not going to help you anymore because the body adapted to that poison, but it's still going to reap that negative consequences because it's still a poison. It's still going to affect other parts of your body. Even though you're using it for the blood platelet count, but your other systems are not immune to the effects of a poison. It's not like it's just gonna, like, the body's gonna ignore the poison and pretend it doesn't exist and hide its eyes, and then when it doesn't work for those blood platelets anymore, it's just gonna be like, well, it's not like we see it anymore. No, the body still sees poison and it will still react to poison even though you're using it or your intention is to use it for this thing. Okay, so that's what cures in the system are. That's why you see, well, we used to say eggs were really good for you, but now they're bad for you. Well, no, eggs are not inherently bad. It's the people who are so heavily mutated that if they eat maybe a certain amount of eggs, that it will cause them heart issues because they have such major mutations and they're not countering those negative elements in their body that maybe eggs could trigger something with good nutrition, strategic nutrition. So now you're seeing the system flip-flop all the time. You're seeing that coffee is so good or coffee is so bad, alcohol so good, alcohol so bad. You're like, what the fuck? What is good and what's bad? Well, it depends upon what you bring to the table. So I can totally see somebody in the Matrix completely confused about what is good for them anymore because they don't realize that some of the things that the system prescribes people doesn't work anymore because a body will adapt and then it will still have, the reaction, the negative consequences. So the cure doesn't work anymore and then the body is now reacting adversely to poison like it should. Okay, taking aspirin every day is asinine for anything. It really is. Okay. So yeah. So anyways, so here's the thing with J juice. J juice is not a cure. It does not just target one specific area of your body. Yeah, you're going to come in doing J juice for a specific issue because that's what you're coming in for. But there is no guarantee that your specific issue is going to be addressed first or be prioritized first. Okay, just because you think it's something that needs to be reversed first doesn't mean your body does. So when you do J juice and you're saying that your hair is falling out or something's going on and you want to see some kind of relief with your hair, well, you do the J juice and you're realizing that now maybe your hair is falling out some more. You're like, what the hell? Well, sometimes things get worse before it gets better. Maybe your hair doesn't even get addressed at all. Maybe you have headaches when you first get on the J juice. So you came in for hair regrowth, but now you have headaches. Now you have, I don't know, constipation because you're not drinking enough, or you have hemorrhoids that are flaring up, or skin issues. You're like, what the hell? Is this juice causing it? No, this juice is an antibiotic. What this juice does, it basically stirs up the mutations in your body and starts the healing process, because it releases the prostaglandin hormone, which aids in the healing process. And that's where the sensation of pain comes into play, that now you're going to have to reintroduce yourself to the role of pain and why it's there, not try to always mitigate pain. Now, some of you have a lot of issues that, yeah, you don't want to have so much pain to where you can't function. So you're going to have to balance out your life and managing this pain while you're doing J juice. But yeah, there's this testimony that's so awesome that this lady, she inherited a mutation from her mother. Okay, so her mother, with this natural immunity that's so good for the child, which is not, well, she inherited alopecia. So she started seeing her hair fall out, things happen, and now she is starting to see hair regrowth, her eyebrows. She's not taking as many supplements or at all. She doesn't get bronchitis or the flus or the colds anymore, because when you have mutations, you may see obvious effects in some parts of your body, but then also it makes you weaker, your immune system weaker, so you catch everything and your body can't fight it off so fast. So then you're sustaining long bouts of inflammation for days and days at a time. And that's when those viruses mutate and turn into a new vaccine. Okay? And so she's seeing now that she doesn't have those sicknesses anymore. So guess what? She's not pathogenic. She's not spreading around disease and mutating the diseases that are out there that require a vaccine schedule. That's a sign of a person on the right track. When you're not experiencing flus and colds to where you're mutating them because they came into your body and you're experiencing a reaction, it means your body didn't recognize that pathogen. It's a new pathogen to you, and then you're going to mutate it, and then you're going to spread it around. So everybody else that catches the cold, it's a new strain now in the population, and it keeps mutating. So her testimony, which I don't know if I should read. Yeah, I'll read it. Maybe you have read it, maybe you haven't. Mine as well, so you can get the full gist of it. So testimony. This lady says, I lost all my hair. I lost all hair on my body. And every time I would wash my hair, the tub was full of hair. I even had scabs on my scalp that was painful. But when I prayed the juice, it will be healed the next day. Okay. But when I prayed the juice, it will be healed the next day. So she prayed that the juice will be, would heal her the next day. My mother had alopecia totalis. Her head is bald. So I know that I was going the same route. I'm drinking the juice for a year now, although I had breaks in between. I started using the juice topically, spraying it on my head every night, and now have less hair in my water when I wash my hair. I had no eyebrows and no pubic hair or hair on my legs or under my armpits. I am happy to report that my eyebrows are growing back. I have pubic hair again, and I am seeing hair grow back on my legs again and under my arms. The protocol is really amazing, and it has helped me from having to take a lot of supplements every month. I don't need any supplements anymore. I have no colds or flus this past year. I used to suffer from bronchitis every year and once got double pneumonia, but this past year I had no need for to see any doctors. My skin went from chicken skin when we got cold, from getting older, to smooth. I look so much younger, and I turned 56 in February 19th. Congratulations. Happy birthday. I have introduced the juice to people at work, and friends are willing to try, and they also had amazing results with the juice. So all the naysayers is people that have not tried the juice and don't know what they're talking about. Oh, I would agree with that. Thanks, Jillian. My health is all better because all of this inexpensive juice, and I live all the way in South Africa. It has been an amazing ride. Well, hell yeah. Hell yeah. Okay? I mean, that's just the tip of the iceberg. Imagine if somebody actually was missing an arm or missing a finger or missing a leg or missing something, and they withstood the pain and they regrew their leg. Okay? So, I mean, that is an amazing testimony. I'm an amazing testimony, given all that what I went through the last 3 years. Okay? But you guys can see what it is that I went through and what I had to deal with the last couple of years. And let me tell you, if I was as mutated as I was a couple of years ago, I probably wouldn't have been able to withstand the major onslaught that I went through. She went through a major onslaught of all of her symptoms. And now she's going through the healing process, and I'm sure it was painful. She's probably isn't saying half of what she really, really experienced because she doesn't want to scare everybody. But you're seeing that when you do go through the fire, you will come out with some major, amazing benefits. Amazing benefits. So that was a great testimony. And, I mean, her mom had integumentary mutations. Her mom passed along those antibodies that caused the mutation. So who knows what those antibodies consisted of that then caused those mutations in the mom, and then what caused the mutations in the daughter when she started seeing her body breaking down. Okay, so that's why you go get a titer test to kind of see what issues you have. I mean, if there's actual named diseases for all the antibodies that you have, go look up the diseases and see potentially what you would be in for if you haven't done J-Juice. If you got to do J-Juice, because all of the stuff that you inherited from your predecessors could come to bite you in the ass. Those are the backdoor triggers. Those are the backdoor triggers. And some you can't help because you are mixing in with a pathogenic population. We don't all live in a bubble. We're always mixing in with people who have mutations. We're always exposed to somebody else's antibodies or antigen or germs, and it's going to mix in with our biochemistry, and then we're going to have antibodies. And who's to say if we don't get control of the antibodies that it might turn into some crazy ass exotic disease that it's going to be a new vaccine in the next 5 or 10 years. See, that's the things that you guys don't realize, is that you're always mixing in with people. I don't care if you wear a face mask. You see people wearing face masks all the time, when they're like, oh, I'm afraid of germs. Oh, I'm sorry, but as soon as you touch anything public, you're going to look weird if you're so afraid of germs. Okay? You should be wearing gloves. You look paranoid. I have absolutely no fear of any germs. I don't have any fear of any germs. It's not like I purposely go and lick the pavement or lick the public bathroom in a gas station. But I have no problem mixing in and breathing around people. Like my husband was sick. I don't have any fear of it. I don't love it that he's sick. I'm like, hey, you don't really need to cough on me, but but it's not like I have any fear of it, because I know that when I take the J juice, it's going to completely eradicate any potential germs, disease, whatever that could potentially turn into if I didn't do J juice. Okay, so that's pretty profound as far as that testimony. Right, Krista. Yeah, you don't fear it, you just don't like it. Right. And then when you do, see, here's the thing, when you're around people, let's say your kids or people or coworkers that you know are sick, just double up on the J juice. Not that you really need to double up, because even, let's say you kiss your boyfriend or your husband who's sick. Well, yeah, my husband kissed me. Okay. So guess what I did? I went to the refrigerator and drank. I just took a shot of my juice, because I knew as soon as our lips touch, pathogens were being transferred, just like that. As soon as, so it's like anytime you exchange any kind of fluids in whatever manner with somebody that is sick or isn't doing J juice, just drink the J juice. That is your protective bubble. You can't intellectualize protecting yourself out there in the community. Okay? You really have to get your internal universe well balanced. That way you're not acting like a total, complete paranoid schizophrenic out there, wondering if someone's going to infect you with some crazy disease. No, because you already are protected. You know how to balance the elements in your body. Yeah, you're going to have to go through some hell if you are mutated. Okay, so man, I'm 3 years into this. And you saw a lot. I mean, you didn't see a lot of my physical hell. I did go through some physical hell in the beginning. But I went through some mental hell with dealing with introducing this and upsetting homeostasis out there in the world. And I had to deal with people and cells that don't understand new information. Okay, I had to deal with vigilantes out there, people who had an axe to grind because they didn't understand the science behind this. Okay, that's why we have due process in the law, because we have mutated people out there that need a little bit of control, and they can't act on their impulses and assume somebody is doing something without going through the proper channels. I mean, let's say that I had to go to court and testify to back up my stuff. They would totally examine the OAG examined all of my science. Yeah, Christine, Kylie, it was crazy. So I didn't have to go and defend myself in a court of law. I substantiated my thought process. Not that they were like, okay, you're right or wrong. At least they know now that it's not some manifesto of some crazy ass person. Like you guys read or seen the manifesto of some of these crazy terrorists that are out there doing stupid stuff, right? You've seen like just the ramblings, like the Unabomber. When they read the manifesto of the Unabomber, they're saying, okay, back in the 1970s, 80s, or forget when, they read it actually on the air because he was sending bombs to professors and different people. And people were dying from this guy, right? So they read his manifesto on there because I guess the Unabomber sent that manifesto to somebody, and then they read it, and then a family member recognized the ramblings of that guy, and they're like, oh yeah, it's my dad. And they turned him in. The family had an obligation. They're like, we can't have any more people dying because of a very imbalanced person. So it essentially, the OAG wanted to see if I had some because that's what they actually said. Actually, that was funny. When I talked to the OAG myself, they're like, well, we don't really need to have like a 50-page manifesto. And I really didn't understand the weight of those words until now. Oh my God. So they were really trying to see if I was crazy. Oh my God. Yeah, no shit. Christine, he can get my book. I know he can get my book if he wants to. He has no interest. He just wanted to capitalize on how early this was being introduced, and I didn't have all the science yet. But that's okay. But yeah, that just woke me up for a minute. That just struck me as so funny, Because yes, that was the exact words from the presiding attorney that wanted to read my stuff. But she's like, well, I don't really need like a whole manifesto. And I gave her a manifesto, but it wasn't anything like the Unabombers. It was just all the science behind my stuff. And it was all substantiated by academia. But yeah, that really just, wow. Wow. They were trying to see if I was one of those types of people. Huh. Well, of course they were, because people were calling me cult leaders, but I just didn't realize to what that really that's what they were trying to do. That's what they were trying to do is they got my paper that I submitted. Wow. That's crazy. Well, that's what happens, when you have someone that says something that's way against the system, they want to find out if what you're saying is actually has some, grain of truth in it, and where's your thought process coming from. And then when I went to go report that death threat to the FBI, I went through an interrogation too. So I put myself in these situations to I mean, and some of it wasn't even intentional that I wanted. I didn't want to be interrogated by the FBI, but I got a death threat, so I want to report that, because you don't let anything like that just go by without somebody noticing, some authority noticing it. So yeah, when I went in, gave up my phone to the FBI, gave them my statement, and they wanted to know the whole background. It was no different than these interrogation videos that you see all over YouTube with Chris Watts and Jodi Arias, and not that they were like interrogating me for like 5 hours, but it was an hour of trying to figure out who the hell I am, because they did their research. I know they did their research. They didn't say how much research they did on me, but I know that they were looking, first of all, when they got that report to begin with. I did it in what is that, like in November, and it was like 3 or 4 months later that they actually came back to me and said, hey, can you come in to our field office over here in Ohio, in Canton, and just talk to us. I'm like, okay, that's fine. Gave up my phone, and I know they were trying to look through my phone, but they tried to get into it, and they hit the camera, accidentally taking pictures. So that was kind of funny. I have my camera or my phone always on, a passcode, so nobody can get into it except for my husband, because he knows the passcode. So that was funny. Thanks, Christine. Yeah, I know, right? So yeah, so when they were asking me, well, what would bring this on to have this person say this? Well, because you have unstable people all over the internet making up stories about me, or making this correlation and cause and correlation and all this other crap, and then they make, and it was really, like, it was just made up shit. They're all thinking that the FDA is going to be like after me. No, I'm not selling a product. And as far as I know, the FDA doesn't oversee and regulate cookbooks. So I don't know what the deal is. And I'm not acting as a doctor. I never said I was a doctor. And I have a book that says I am not a doctor. This actually is just a recipe that you see in all these fermentation websites. Then I talk about healing symptoms when you deal with bringing to surface issues. And then I talk about the science behind, the claims that I may have made without actually connecting. I mean, this is an inference that the recipe could potentially do this, but I'm not actually saying. Okay, so when you see all the articles out there like Newsweek and Pathos and Daily Mail and BuzzFeed, they don't exactly say that I actually killed a person, but they make an inference that, oh yeah, Julie Juice, and then why Bruce Wilmot died. No, not because he had a really crazy life and he's at the death's door and the system can't help him anymore. Oh no, he did J-Juice at one point in his life, and now they're going to tie it to his death. But they're not saying that Julie Juice actually did it. They're just going to make the inference. Well, I do the same thing. I made the inference. I didn't say, oh, Julie Juice can do all this stuff, but I made the inference, and then you can go and study the science and see if what I'm talking about actually is the right inference. Okay? So that's kind of like the way journalism is, and that's the way the law is. Like, you can't make these claims, but and I don't even want to advertise where you make inferences that this is on my website, okay? Because I don't need the Federal Trade Commission to be on my ass. So I'm leaving my advertise on my website completely benign. And those that want to go get the book, they'll get it, they'll read the website. But the website doesn't have a lot, it just has a little bit of stuff. And I'm just going to leave it the way it is, and it's perfect. So, and then Kevin, will help me beef up the forum. Not so much the pages, but the forum. So that way, when you do get in the forum, you can see then, I don't know, videos that he may have done or we put in there for whatever reason. So Yeah, so the cures that are out there, any cure, so anything that you see on TV could be a potential temporary, but then the side effects are based upon when the body adapts to the poisons, and then the cure doesn't work anymore, but you're still going to reap the negative consequences, which are the side effects. Okay, so some people will see those side effects earlier on, so they couldn't do the drug. Other people could do a drug for a certain amount of time until the body starts breaking down. Then they got to switch to drug because the body was able to adapt. When you're taking thyroid medication and glaucoma is a side effect, then you realize, and then you have glaucoma, you're seeing exactly what they're telling you on the bottle. That should raise some flags that maybe you shouldn't be doing these cures. You should be looking at managing this stuff and reversing it from a different perspective. Okay. That's right, Kevin. There's no pathogen. See, mother's milk. See, this is where we can substantiate that mother's milk is more pathogenic than J juice. That J juice is far more preferential for babies than mother's milk. This is where I'm vindicated. So, and just you got to make sure you got to give water to your baby. Wow, that may help hit home for people. What, Krista McGinn? As far as cures, and what they present out there? Well, yeah, I mean, when you seeing them retract what they said a while back, as far as the aspirin and an anticoagulant, and then the body adapts. Because, yeah, I mean, the body does adapt. Oh, okay, with glaucoma being a side effect. Right, okay, yeah. Glaucoma, yeah. Because, yeah, well, if we read it on the bottle, you just don't know when your body is going to adapt. That's the thing, is you don't know when, and when you start seeing those things happen, that should tell you that the body's adapting to that poison, and it's not going to give you the what you need anymore as far as thyroid stuff, and it's destroying other parts of your body. So what other drug are you going to try that's going to have another side effect? And then another system is being compromised because you're trying another drug, another temporary solution. I mean, that's huge. That's huge. Not everyone's going to get it. Some people will still do the shortcuts because they don't know the laws. They know laws in other areas, but they don't know the laws when it comes to their body, or they don't care. And it is about the shortcuts, the fast and easy. Right. I mean, when you take, just like with all the different strains of cannabis, why is there so many different strains? Well, because people that smoke so much, their body gets, well, I mean, I don't know. It's kind of weird with someone that's a pothead that's managing disease. I would have to ask how often they change strains because they're dealing with neuropathy or something. Like I should ask. I know some potheads out there. I should ask, when you're dealing with neuropathy and you're taking this strain, do you ever change strains when you're doing medicinal marijuana? Just to see if it really confirms my theory. Because pot is so, like, when you smoke it, it just totally anesthetizes you. So I can't imagine that any type of pot wouldn't anesthetize somebody. Now, as far as pain, maybe you still feel pain when you're totally high. I don't know if your body adapts to it. I don't really know exactly, because I've never smoked pot to deal with pain. So I don't really have that experience to offer people. But other than that, really, that's all I have. That's all I have for you guys today. But go to jellyjuice.com. Yeah, and just get the book. And I do have in the book, I mean, I'm not a super author. There is no index to this book. Okay, so when I talk about certain things that you want, or you have a question about something, read the whole book with the questions in mind, because I don't have an index to say, okay, here are the keywords, and all the keywords that, are in this book. Well, here are the page numbers. I don't have an index. So you got to read this with all the questions in mind. And it's better that you read this and reread this. When you have new questions, you reread this, or you highlight things that, are super interesting. So that way, and then you put like little sticky notes in here with little flags. Thanks, Krista. And that way you can refer back, and if somebody that has a question about something, you let them know, or you let them borrow the book, buy them a book, I don't know, do whatever you want. But but I do, but I'm not a super author. So, and I don't imagine that Kevin and I are going to do an index. I don't know. I'll talk to him about it. An index. That's a lot of work, an index, especially when you're trying to figure out with keywords and, say the control F, all the words like that has, I don't know, waterfalls. Or what would it be another keyword? Antigen, antibodies. I don't know. I don't even think I need, I don't need an index. Because really, just read it. Take the time and read it. Highlight, do old school stuff. Dog ear it. Sticky notes. It's okay. Take notes. All right. Y'all have a good day. That's it for me right now. You guys have a good day. Get your day going. Enjoy it. Thanks for listening. And I'll see you later. Okay, biophotons. Oh, fuck, Kevin. I'm going to kick your ass. All these words. You and your energy. All right. I'll talk to you later. You guys have a good one. But if you want to write down keywords, Kevin, feel free. But they have to appear in different places. Like I guess antibodies, antigen, pathogens. I don't know. We'll figure it out. And they have to be in alphabetical order. And it's a lot of work. All right. I'll talk to you later. Bye.